Oh, yeah.
Data had her interview today.
I don't have a gavel, so. Call to order this meeting of the Nettle Creek School Board. Show all board members present. We in compliance with the open meeting law.
Yes.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right, the only item on the agenda tonight is the reading of the details of the tentative agreement between association.
Okay, I think it's important tonight, before we get into the details of the teacher's contract, that we share a little bit of background information and some financial information that has had an impact on our negotiations this year. Starting with the education fund, our education appropriation this year was $8.4 million. Year to date expenditures as of October 19th, just in staffing, was $6.1 million. Our projected staffing cost for the 2025 budget year is $7 million. And so that is leaving about 1.4 million of our appropriations remaining for all of the other things that our education fund covers. That includes professional development, supplies, textbooks and consumables that our students and teachers use in the classroom, printing, our Newcastle Career Center partnership, our Newcastle special education partnership, and then all of our computer licensing, hardware, software that is related to education, which is a summary of things, but those are the big things that stick out. So just to kind of give you a snapshot of where our education fund is going to end this year, you likely have seen or will see that we will be requesting an additional appropriation at the November board meeting to spend some of our cash balance to meet the expenditures of our education fund in budget year 2025. So already spending down some of our cash balance that we have carried in education. And part of that is because we did not receive new funding this year as a result of the legislative increase. When you take out textbook for this year, when you look at our enrollment, and I'll talk more about that in a minute, there were no new dollars. So we went into negotiation not being able to offer very much, but through some creative work in our office, trying to reappropriate some dollars to put towards salaries for certified staff in our education fund. But then that meant taking away from other things that our education fund is paying for. In our operations budget, just because I think it's important to talk about that as well as we talk about the education fund. Our operations fund was 3.7 million. Our projected expenditures in staffing is 1.6 million. So that's 43% of the budget is spent on people. And the operations budget is more challenging because that covers things such as our legal and professional services, technology that's not directly related to educating students, our maintenance of buildings, grounds, equipment, our vehicle and bus maintenance, security, insurance, water, electricity, light and power, tires, transportation, and equipment that we have. Just looking at our operations, same in as our education fund, we have spent down some of our cash balance, not quite as much, but some. We won't need an additional appropriation. I believe in that. But when you think about the why, again, we're not receiving new dollars going into operations revenue, but we are seeing an increased cost of insurance on property and buses. Supplies and utilities has increased astronomically. We talk about the loss of income from local income tax that we are projected to see in 2026, and then the impact, future impact that the property tax credits is going to have on that revenue, not only starting in 2026, but all the way through 2030. So the loss of revenue, the increased cost rising, it becomes, again, very challenging to free up dollars to put towards our people resources when we have all of these other costs as well. Other factors that go into dollars available or new money is enrollment. This year, we saw a decline in enrollment. If you compare fall to 2024 to fall 2025, we are down 15 students from last year. That means just on student tuition dollars, we are down approximately $116,000. That's two teacher positions out of our funding that we're used to receiving. Another change this year in the state budget was in fall of 2024, we received an additional revenue source of $174,000 for textbook reimbursement. This year, that textbook reimbursement was included in the state tuition increase. So when we received that state tuition increase, the first thing that we had to do was remove and set aside $174,000 to pay for textbooks, curricular materials that we use in our classrooms. Legislative changes that impacted the 2025 teacher compensation plans. SEA 146 increased the minimum teacher salary from $40,000 to $45,000. Thankfully, we already were meeting that minimum. We already met the increase. Our minimum teacher, or our starting teacher salary at Nettle Creek, is $47,000. They also increased the state tuition that goes towards teacher compensation from 62% to 65%. We already have met that as well. We are putting 65.49% towards of our state tuition towards certified teacher compensation. Before we get in, typically when we come to the table with a teacher's agreement, we at the same time have a non-certified and administrator increase that in years past has mirrored what we've been able to offer our certified teachers. Unfortunately, this year we are not going to be able to provide a non-certified staff or admin raise increase just because of the factors that we have already, I've already kind of talked about. I spoke with our leadership team very lengthy last week, and number one, made them aware. Number two, kind of shared or explained the why behind that. And then number three, started the conversation of what can we do to put ourselves in a better position next year sitting at the negotiation table so that number one, we can offer more dollars to certified staff than what we're offering this year, but also be able to offer dollars to non-cert and administrators. We also, with the leadership team and myself, have already communicated the lack of an increase, unfortunately, this year to our non-certified staff as well. Just when we think about what is it going to take to be in a better position next year than what we are in currently, I think that we will really need to look at cost saving measures in the future. Those could include, aren't limited to, but things that I think we need to have discussions around are our student to staff ratios in our classrooms, the number of instructional assistants that we have, our substitute teacher cost, evaluating all of our programs that we use and analyzing the return on investment, evaluating our supplies and services, and making sure that the contracts we have with different services and supplies, is that the most economical for us to be in, or are there better ones out there for us? Looking at, are there ways to optimize our transportation routes? And just always seeking out grants and partnerships to offset some of our cost out of the education and the operations fund. So just kind of in summary, this year has been a different year than what we have gone through in the past, simply because we did not have new money to offer this year. We're spending down that cash balance, but we continue to prioritize spending money on people resources. I don't know what public school funding is going to look like in the future. With the biennium, the budget is already set for next year, and so I don't anticipate any significant increase in state tuition funding. And so I think that, again, marketing our school, increasing our enrollment, just different types of things that I just listed as well, are going to help us bring dollars in that we can then put towards the quality people that we have in our school corporation, and continue to prioritize them. Any questions on that information before I get into the terms of the teacher contract? Okay, so the proposed tentative agreement, just a summary of things. Again, we already meet the minimum salary requirement. We also meet the percentage of state tuition going towards teacher compensation. A couple of things that we had to address this year. We needed to increase the insurance corporation insurance contribution to our most affordable insurance package for an employee. We were under that Affordable Care Act minimum, and so the corporation needs to contribute $25, and that is going to be $25 increase, corp increase, to 27 employees who are on that specific insurance plan. And then if we gave, through the legislative session, if we give a base salary increase to teachers, two things have to happen. Number one, there has to be a differentiated salary increase for the literacy endorsement. The DOE has put a focus on literacy in Indiana, and they are now requiring all elementary licensed teachers to have the literacy endorsement on their license by a certain time. And so if we gave a base salary, increase, anybody that currently has that literacy endorsement added to their license must receive a differentiated salary for that. The other piece is if you gave a base salary increase, the compensation plan must demonstrate that academic needs factor accounts for at least 10% of the total base salary increase calculation. So what does that all mean? We have landed on a base salary increase to our teachers for 1 year of experience. So those teachers who taught in the 24-25 school year and remain employed with Nettle Creek School Corporation, they will receive a base salary increase of $150. We have one teacher who currently has the literacy endorsement on their license. And so that will be a base salary increase of $133.33. And then to contribute to the 10% academic need, any teacher, any certified staff who is currently teaching an Indiana College Core or dual credit course this year, they will receive a $133.33 base salary increase. You ask why $133.33. We took the 10% that we needed to meet the academic need and then divided that by the number of teachers who we compiled into meeting an academic need requirement. The only other change to the teacher contract right now is a language change. In our teacher contract, it states that ECAs for winter coaches will be paid out in the first pay of March. That has been challenging because some of our athletic seasons are not over by the first pay in March. And our athletic department sort of checklist requirements before they can turn that claim form in to be paid is that all uniforms and equipment must be turned in, and they must have had everything complete with our athletic department before they can turn that claim form in. If they don't, their next payout was not until May or June, so months later. So because we only pay those out 4 times a year at the completion really of every season and then once in the summer. And so just an easy fix on that, instead of that winter ECA being paid out in the first pay of March, it will be paid out on the last pay of March. And in working with Sarah Baroker, who processes those, and Scott Snodgrass in our athletic department, all of that can happen with the last pay of March and eliminate the problems that we have been having. The only other thing I would say is I just appreciate the understanding and the positive work with the Nettle Creek Classroom Teachers Association. Obviously, this I think was a tough year and a different year for all of us. But I think one that we navigated through, understanding a little bit better of where Nettle Creek is and where we hope to go in the future, but really still maintaining that collaborative, positive work. At this time, I would open it up for public comment.
I have a couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
I had read that we were going to increase like by 7,000 for hard to fill positions.
So that has been in the teacher contract. That really is hold that thought, Marcy.
You might not even have to look, but is that
Talking about the discretionary on new hires.
no? Would that also include like speech, hearing, language?
So that $7,000 basically is just a clause in our teacher contract, because when we have a teacher come in, we look at what type of license or what type of degree do they have, a bachelor's or a master's, and then years of experience. We take those two things and we have a mathematical equation that gets us to the base salary that we can offer. It's standard. But if we have somebody who we deem there can be a multiple of reasons that it's a hard to fill position, and I, as the superintendent, would like to use up to $7,000, then I can have a conversation with the Teachers Association and say, here's what I would like to do. It can't go past $7,000. I don't know that we've ever used full $7,000, but to try to increase that base salary that we're offering the teacher, because it is a hard to fill position. That could be a speech language pathologist. I would say those are hard to fill positions in the education world, because they can go outside of the education world and make significantly more. And so when you enter them in on a bachelor or master's and then years of experience, it puts them significantly lower.
One more, so follow up with that with special education teachers.
Mhm.
Sometimes we have a fast turnover, especially down like at the older stuff.
Mhm.
Would that also be in consideration too, that you could negotiate using whatever for the 7,000? I know we've talked about all this before, and I'm always late to the table about asking that.
Yeah, I think that it just has to maintain some level of consistency. And I think that's why the conversation happens with the Teachers Association before they allow me to do that. What we don't want to do is just get into a position where we're adding that on for here or there. I think there has to be some justification on why is that hard to fill, and does that warrant adding those additional dollars onto the salary that we're offering.
The only reason that I'm asking is not because of Hagerstown per se, but that position alone is very hard to fill, to keep, and to get good quality. But a lot of that language is in the child's IEPs. So, you know, when we don't have a speech teacher and it's gonna be a while, and I've been seeing on the news other school corporations being held accountable for that, so.
Yeah, I think, you know, unfortunately, you know, the teacher pipeline, when I entered education, it looks very different from what the teacher pipeline looks like right now. And so when you talk about hard to fill positions, I'm sure there are school corporations that could argue any and all position is a hard to fill position, because we're not getting a lot of applicants when we have openings. We're fortunate at the elementary where we've done pretty well, but I think it becomes more challenging at the high school when you're looking for that content specific. You know, just in my years of being in the superintendent position, we've sat on science positions, we've sat on ELA positions. You know, 10 years ago, you would not have considered those to be hard to fill positions. And that's where I think you really have to go back to the conversation so that there is some consistency in when you're using that discretionary added money. And I think you also have to keep in mind, you know, being very careful with that, because if we are hiring an English teacher who has the same degree and same years of experience as another English teacher in our corporation, what we cannot do is add on so many dollars from that 7,000 discretionary money that somebody new is coming in with same years of experience and same degree level, but making more. That clause is in there, it's great, but I also think it's very challenging to use.
We've been very fortunate the last couple of years that we kept the same one. It's just hard to kind of keep up, especially when there's evaluations before, during, exit.
Mhm.
Don't think of the hospital and make $100,000
Yeah.
more, so I'm just wondering about that. All right, thank you very
Uh-huh.
much, Schaefer.
Any other questions from the board? Heather Luger, Heather is a fourth grade teacher and this year took Peggy Mueller's position as the chief negotiator. She is here. And then also Glenn Meek, who is our NCCTA president. So I appreciate having them both here this evening. I don't know if there's anything that you want to share or speak on, and if you don't want to, that's okay too.
I do, real super fast. We love you, Mr. Meek. But this
But.
teacher over there has had one of my children back to back. She went from third grade to fourth grade. And so if she can handle the redheaded Houghton, she's going to do great. We're going to do great. And you've got wonderful support sitting right next to you. Thank you both.
Did you have anything, Glenn? I'll just say, I mean, for me personally, and probably the board too, I mean, disappointed in what we're able to offer from a compensation and benefits increase this year. As Schaefer said, you know, times are tight right now due to a lot of circumstance. But what I will say is I appreciate the time and effort you've gone into preparing the data, and Amber, you too, preparing the data, providing the transparency, laying out all the options, and trying to, you know, squeak together a few dollars here and there where we possibly can. And to you and your team, I appreciate the cooperation year in and year out with this. So hopefully return to what we've been doing the past few years in coming years. So.
And I think that's important for you all to hear as we get through this and already start planning for next year. You know, if we're going to free up dollars and not get new dollars, there is some heavy work to be done. And so I think being transparent about that and being proactive very, very soon is going to be important so that we are sitting in that better position next year.
And as you called out, I think it highlights or reinforces also the number of students makes a big difference. And, you know, when we hear those numbers at the beginning of the year, you know, as far as our enrollment, but we're only down 15 kids, it doesn't sound like a whole lot when you're looking across the school, and it's not. It's not even 2 kids per grade level, but it equates to 2 teacher salaries, and
Every penny counts.
every penny and dollar counts. Any other questions or comments from anyone?
We also do appreciate how transparent you guys have been, and it makes it a lot easier.
All right, we will provide items of information then. Our next regular board meeting is November 12th here in the LGI room at 6:30, and we're adjourned at 6:58.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Glenn. Appreciate you guys coming.
You do this, shout out to the